go without saying that everyone watching my coverage of the scandals surrounding Mike Voris and Church Militant should pray for them. Please also pray for the victims of sexual harassment from Voris and all current and former employees of Church Militant who were sexually harassed and verbally abused. Not once did Church Militant step in to protect its employees. Now that Church Militant has been exposed, instead of taking responsibility, apologizing, and denouncing Voris, Church Militant blames Satan. God gives us free will, folks, and not all bad decisions can be blamed on Satan. Remember, Voris kept the staff after work hours for 2.5 hours, making them repeat out loud, quote, "Admit you don't have the skills that it takes to succeed," and other degrading statements. Yes, it's sad. It's a lesson for all of us to keep our eyes on Jesus. We easily gravitate to what we can see, but the real life is the spiritual side of what we can't see. Our guardian angel never leaves our side. Jesus is waiting for us to call upon him. God will be with us in prayer, or while doing the dishes, or working, or just sitting with us on a park bench, if we just ask. That's more real than the facade of man. And there is life without Michael Voris and Church Militant. Now, please stay until the end because I have an announcement to make. And our guest today knows what it's like to be sexually abused. Our guest knows what it's like to be betrayed by Michael Voris. I'd like to introduce you to James Grein. Thank you, James, for coming on today.
Christine, thank you very much. It's an honor and a privilege to be part of your programming. And hello to all your followers.
Well, I thank you for that. Thank you for that. James, for the audience, could you just give a brief overview of who you are? I'm sure everybody knows who you are, but could you, for those that maybe don't, could you just give a brief overview of who you are?
Certainly. Thank you. I'm James Grein, and I was abused by Theodore McCarrick. I was the first person that Theodore McCarrick ever baptized. He was part of my family. I used to call him Uncle Ted, and he used to call me Little Jimmy. And then I became little Jimmy, his special little boy. I did a lot of travel with him in New Jersey and New York when he was just at an incarnation or at Immaculate Church before he became an auxiliary bishop. And so I knew the young Theodore McCarrick. He became part of my family because he met my Uncle Werner, my mother's youngest brother, at Fordham Prep at a debate in 1945. That's how long he's been part of my family. And so it was not by mistake that he decided that he would become part of the inner fabric of my family and my mother's family. And he decided that I was the easiest prey, and he took me. And he abused me as a child. He abused me as a teenager. He abused me and by the time he had groomed me enough, he had his mitts into me all the time. But that will all come out in another report as we go forward with criminal and civil situations. Theodore McCarrick has always been part of my life, and it's the dark part of my life. But he has made me actually a better human being today.
James, it goes without saying that my heart goes out to you. And as a Catholic to another Catholic, I just really want to say that I'm sorry that all of this has happened to you. Your life has not been easy by any stretch. And thank you for sharing a brief part of your story, James. Let's pivot to Church Militant. When did you appear on Church Militant's radar? And were you also on 2 of their Baltimore conferences or just one?
Yes, I started to, when I went public in 2018 in the New York Times, I started to get involved with many more stories and everything else that was out there. I thought for a long time that I was all by myself until 2018, until they found credible evidence against Theodore McCarrick. I thought I was by myself and nobody would ever believe me. And then I started to read a little bit more stuff, either on 1 Peter 5 or on Church Militant or with Taylor Marshall, all those different, all the different Catholic reporting agencies. And then I read somewhere along the line in August of 2018 that this organization called Church Militant was going to have an event in Baltimore, Maryland. I live in Virginia. It's about an hour and a half ride. And I said, wouldn't it be great if I were able to go in front of many people and talk about how McCarrick had been abusing me? Because it was important for me to keep going. I had been in the newspaper, and people kept on wanting to talk to me there. But I needed to speak in front of people and let them know, because I had only identified myself as James. And when I spoke to Michael Voris on the phone, he was sincere enough to let me know that it'd be very, very important for him and for all the Catholics and all the bishops if I were to step forward, and would I be willing to do that? And I did. And it was a great thing for me. And so the situation was that I had a brother who really didn't want me to go public with my last name. He was afraid that he was politically connected and he didn't want our last name out there. And so on November 13th, 2018, I let the world know that my name was James Grein. And that 5 or 7 minute speech, I was the most nervous person I'd ever been in my life. And it just circled from there. But it made me feel good. So Church Militant made me famous.
James, I saw that speech and you didn't appear to be nervous at all. Matter of fact, you had me in tears when I saw your speech. So how long of a favorable relationship would you say you had with Church Militant?
So 2018, 2019. And then we didn't talk to each other for about a year. And then he said that he was going to have another event in Baltimore, and would I be available for that? And so, and it was 2021. So I was told by my brothers and sisters, who I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters, all Catholic or all religious, that I shouldn't be hanging out with Church Militant because they felt there was something wrong and that Church Militant was now using me for their own benefit. And I disagreed with them. I said, I think I have a good enough intention to help Michael Voris to bring the news to the people. We need to have that happen. I won't be involved in there every day. Now I think there was a conversation that Michael and I went out to Ferndale in 2020. And then I didn't go back out there again at all. I haven't been out there since. And it started to wane. My understanding of Michael's work started to wane tremendously in 20 and then into 21. He asked me to help him in the court system in Baltimore to try to get the city of Baltimore to let us have the event. But before that, I wasn't part of his daily thing. I had asked Church Militant in 2020 to help me with a few articles. They didn't. I said to the second girl in charge there that maybe I could help her with one of her articles, but then I decided I didn't want to. But she wouldn't leave me alone, and so there was some bad taste. Whenever I asked them for help, they said no, but they always wanted something from me, and that started to give me a bad taste. But I did help them with the Baltimore court system, and I did go on Enough is Enough in 21.
So, James, what do you mean that she wouldn't leave you alone?
So I told Christine Niles that I had some information that might be pretty pertinent for her on a couple of her articles, and that'd be very important for her to hear that. And then my lawyer said to me, you can't add that to her. You can't give her that information because it's part of your discovery. And if you give her part of your discovery, we're in deep trouble. So I explained that to Christine. I said, I can't do that because my lawyer says no. But she doesn't understand the word no. So she would call me on odd days, odd hours, and ask me questions. Is it okay for me to talk to you now? I said, well, no, it's not okay for me to talk to you ever. And I had sent an email to Christine and to David Gordon, I think that's his name. And I said, you are not permitted to call me and talk to me. This is the information that I could give you about your stories and that you should use. And the last time that she called me, she was giving me all these questions. I said, Christine, I can't answer the questions. Oh, just give me one more answer. And I said, listen, I've already given all the answers I could possibly give to David Gordon, and that was it. And then David Gordon sends this email back, I never received anything. Could you send it again? Huh? No. No. If you can't find these things, it's not my fault. It's yours. Don't start pushing your fingers into my face saying that I have to help you. I'm not that person. I've been abused by one of the strongest men in the whole wide world, and now you're going to abuse me too? I don't think so. I don't let people push me around anymore. And that's what I felt like I was being pushed around by her.
Okay, now I have a clear understanding. Thanks for clarifying that, James. So now we're fast forward to 2021, Enough is Enough, which is the name of this broadcast. Enough is Enough.
Awesome.
By James Grein. Enough is Enough. What happened at Baltimore in 2021?
Well, there were circumstances in 2021 where I arrived at the organization. I had a great person to help me, get organized and make it to the event. I had my sister, my brother-in-law there, and we were well taken care of. But I went looking for Michael, and I walked in on Michael, and it was a very awkward situation, and it was something that I really didn't need to see. That was after I had spoken.
Well, let me stop you there. It was an awkward situation that you didn't really need to see. Can you, in what context, James?
So, without using this as a weapon against Michael, the inappropriate behavior between two men in the room that I walked into, that he was surprised that I was there.
Got it. Okay. You don't need to say anything else. I now realize how sensitive this is. What was Michael's reaction when that happened?
He was startled and wanted to know why I was there.
Did he seem embarrassed at all?
No. No,
Okay.
it was more like, why am I there and how could you be here? It's more like, it was almost like he was insinuating I was in the wrong place and I was the error. And that's what really bothered me. He may have, I know when Michael gets embarrassed. He has talked to me. We've had many conversations about off camera, talking about what we're going to talk about when we were on camera when I was in Ferndale, and even text messages. I could tell when I could embarrass the kid. But he was like, "How dare you? How dare you?" And so the guy who was helping me out, moving stuff around, he happened to be in the hallway of the hotel. And I turned around and I said to him exactly what I just saw. And he just looked at me like oh my goodness. And I said, I have to go. I got to go home.
Now, was this a staffer that you turned to?
Yes.
Okay. So someone at Church Militant.
Yeah,
And
so I want to keep him. I want to keep him as covered as possible. I don't know whether he works there or not, and I don't need him. And like I said before, I don't want to use it as a weapon against anybody, and I don't want anybody to have to suffer because of what I saw.
So, James, how did that make you feel?
So I had spoken to, back when we went to court, I had spoken to Father Kalchek about the people who were there in the courtroom defending Church Militant. And these people who were defending Church Militant, I felt were all homosexuals or rehabbing homosexuals. And I started to feel like I didn't belong there. And so that when I find this happening right there, and I see it with my own, for a little bit, I said, well, okay, maybe I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. So I asked Father Kalchek, is Yiannopoulos gay? Oh no, he's working on he's trying not to be that anymore. Well, isn't that good? But you see, I don't want to be associated with that. And I try to compartmentalize that whole situation. And I tried to stay normal as much as I possibly can. But it started to really, really bother me. And then when I walk in on these two guys, I said, that's it. I'm completely done with Church Mill. I will never help them with anything else. Ever.
So did Michael ever reach out to you afterwards and try to talk to you about any of this?
No.
Oh, just like act like it didn't happen. Is that it, James?
So I tried to, he avoided me and I avoided him. So at the dinner, we all went to Ruth's Chris that night for dinner after the speak. So I leave the hotel and I go there. And the gentleman in there walks up to me and says, Church Militant in 2018 wasn't very large. And I was gonna donate some money to Church Militant, but you raised so much money for them that I tried to match it and I couldn't. They are really, really big and reaching so many more people because of you. And I just looked at him and I said, "Oh, great. I'm doing the right thing." And he was surprised with my answer. How could you be so humble? I said, well, what am I supposed to do? It's great that they're reaching more people. But what I had just seen about 45 minutes prior to that, I knew in my head, that was going through my head. That was a tape that was going through my head, this picture of these two people. And I was totally disgusted. I said, well, sir, maybe you should hear what I have to say right now, what I just saw. I'm done with this place. I'm going to eat my steak and I'm going to go home. I'm totally done with this. I tried to reach out to Michael on a couple of texts, but he was too busy. And then he did a really good report about me, probably in 22, maybe, probably in the middle of 22 or something like maybe it was last summer. He did something really, really strong about me. And he really, he understood who I was and what I was going through. And he put out an incredible, it was a vortex. And I really appreciate that. And I reached out to him. I said, you're the strongest voice I have who could really understand who I am and what I'm trying to get done. That was the last time we spoke to each other. I don't trust Michael Voris anymore. I'm done.
Well, I can certainly understand why. James, do you think, reflecting back on this, on everything, do you think the staff knew what was going on? And I don't mean all the staff, but certainly some of the staff. Do you think they knew what was going on?
Well, the same pictures that you had that they all had to see on Dropbox, he was sending to me.
Oh, you got those pictures too?
Yes. His favorite one in the gymnasium with him, with only his pants on and his bare chest open, and he thinks he's the greatest thing in the world. I got it. And I said, "What the heck is he sending me this for? This is disgusting. Who the heck sends me this?" So, his behavior was reprehensible. It was just so gross. There were some times when Michael Voris was a strong, great Catholic man, and there was other times that his brain was just taken away. He went back to being without God. He left. His ego grew so big, and we know what ego means, right? Edging God out. And he edged God out completely, and he decided that he was God. And he started to throw that garbage at me. And I had to let him go. I had to let him go. So I really feel for those people who worked with him. Because yes, he could be a tyrant. And yes, he could be a real pain in the rear end. Excuse me. And he could really be so much without God that he thought he was it. And I know his behaviors or what he talked about before he became a recovering homosexual. I knew what his past life was like. He knew what my past life was like. And I know for a fact that, see, I am a recovered alcoholic. In 1991, God had seen me with Carrick long enough. He plucked me up, put me over here, took all the drugs and alcohol out of my life, and God filled it up with all of his love for me. It took a long time to become an alcoholic in recovery. So Mr. Voris will have to spend years getting past all his demons. If they call it Satan, all his demons will have to, the only way that he can rid himself of all of that is through God. There is no human power on this earth that's going to relieve him of any of his ill behaviors. There was the only God was going to relieve my alcoholism. So I know what he has to go through. And my few conversations with him in the last 3 months have been sad for me. I have sponsored hundreds of guys inside of AA. And I know who are going to make it and who's not.
Wow, James. That is a piece of the puzzle about you I did not know.
32 years of sobriety.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. 32 years. Wow.
Yep.
Well, James, let me ask you this question. I get a lot of emails and comments and donors calling me about what to do. They're obviously furious about being deceived by Church Militant and where their money has gone and all of this. Do you have anything that you can suggest that the donors do?
Well, we have to we have to stop giving them money. Just like what Michael will say, you have to stop giving them money on their collection plate in church because they're just going to use it for their own good. Hello? I guess you're saying the exact same thing. We no longer need to give them money. It's just enabling them. Let them go out and create advertising money for themselves and stop being a 501c3 and become a company that makes money. See if somebody can come in and they can sell advertising. See if they can come up with a program where they can sell an actual videotapes or something. It's like what Yiannopoulos tried to do, sell his whatever, his readings. Stop being a 501c3 because you're not. Stop being a say that you're serving Catholics. You're not. I'm a Catholic. You're not serving me. You're not serving my entire family. My entire family and hundreds of friends were donating or were Prime memberships, had their memberships with them for every year, and they were giving $10 a month. Some of them were giving the annuals, but they all stopped. They stopped when I asked them to, because I said enough was enough, and you cannot go on. They're no longer speaking about a Catholic church that should be, and give us a solution. I always wanted Michael to give me a solution for my situation, and it never happened. There's a lot of arguments. There are a lot of statements, but we are not guided anywhere to what we should be doing. And that's where their problem is. They just like to argue and talk and report and make money off me because of what I have said and all the victims who have to go through this every time. And they just keep on saying more and more and more. And that everything that's going wrong with the church, and it's going wrong with them. You just stop donating money to them. There are so many better organizations out there that could possibly do better. There's so many better talking heads out there, like Anthony Stein or the good doctor in Texas. There are so many better places to put your money. There's so many better human beings in the world. So many more people who believe in Jesus Christ. They can tell you that you do. Taylor Marshall is who I was speaking about. Taylor Marshall knows Jesus Christ very, very well and wants you to believe that he believes. Anthony Stein says the exact same thing. And they understand what they have. And they're starting to come up with solutions. For myself, I have worked very, very closely with His Excellency Carla Maria Vigano. We have a very good rapport. I talk to him often. We have to talk slowly because he doesn't understand when I speak English so darn fast. He goes, "Oh, James, please go so slow." But he's a wonderful human. He's coming up with a new solution, and it's going to be wonderful. There's a group of people who are going to be in the forefront of our new way of life.
Well, James, when that happens, will you come on my show and announce it?
I would love to. But I think there are more people in this world who are going to be much more important than I am, who would be able to understand that a lot better. But yes, it's in the works. We're trying to figure out all of this out. We're trying to come up with a solution of how we're going to go forward so that people can start to rejoice in Jesus Christ and the Catholic Church.
Yes, I so agree with that, James. And are you familiar with David L. Gray?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and David L. Gray was on one of my shows a while back. And I said to him, we all need a way to move forward. We all need to learn how to move forward from all of this fighting going back and forth between Catholics, right?
Exactly. I wanted that way back in the beginning. I was really hoping that Church Militant was going to be my vehicle in order to come up with a solution. I thought that's what it was in 2018. I was naive then. My brothers and sisters who don't have my life, they can see it from a different angle. I come from a different angle. I thought this guy understood exactly what I was talking about. He didn't. He thought he did, but he didn't. My brothers and sisters who don't have my lifestyle are saying to me, "Don't trust this guy. You can't." But I had to because he was the only person who was listening to me. But he didn't listen to me. He used me just as bad as everybody else. So I found a group of men with a smattering of a few women in there who we get together on a regular basis and we talk about God. And we realize that we have come up with a new organization of great people who talk about God. And we have our own little niche areas. So what could happen? But we're coming up with a solution. It's been my dream since 2018. And I'm finding more people who want to do the exact same thing. And it's going to be wonderful. And God is letting this happen. He's getting all the people together, which is going to make it better. We're getting the band back together, and we're all going to go and work ourselves forward.
I like that. We're getting the band back together. James, I play trumpet.
Not a problem. Come on down. We need horns. Not a problem at all. It's just brings me over this last summer. I did Hope is Fuel, and I really got so charged up with that because if I didn't have hope that something was going to change and something was going to be better, not for me specifically, but for all of us. All of us we have no leader. I don't like Bergoglio. And so we don't have a leader. And we need to have some place for all of us to go. I feel sorry for Father Altman. I feel sorry for all the people who have been dismissed and Bishop Strickland. What are they supposed to do now? We have to have a place for all of us to go where there are no restrictions except for God's law. In 2018, when Bergoglio came out with something pretty crazy the day before I spoke, and sorry, I said, it's not Bergoglio, it's not Francis's church. The church is Jesus Christ. The church will look like it's falling apart, but it's not. Those are all men who don't know how to do anything. They're all panicking because they're losing their power. So it looks like the church is dying, but it's not. It's the church is Jesus Christ, and God, and Jesus Christ doesn't die. And it brings us to what you say, to eternal life. And that's the greatest gift we've ever had.
It sure is. James, I don't know if you know this, but I had a near-death experience. Yeah. And I cannot emphasize enough to people that this world we live in is not the real world. It may seem like the real world because we can't see the invisible behind the invisible veil, but your guardian angel, any saint, if you call upon them, they'll be with you. That is more real than you and I having this conversation because they're here. Your guardian angel's right there with you. My guardian angel is right here with me, and it's more real than this world. Today, Cardinal Burke is meeting with Pope Francis. He's another one that's about ready to be canceled as well. So I'm very excited to hear about this path forward that you're planning with other faithful Catholics, James. And I do hope that you do come back and talk about it because I would love to hear more about that. But what is it in your heart that you want to talk about before we end this broadcast?
in my heart, I've been speaking for a long time about Theodore McCarrick. And one of my best friends said to me, goes, no one works harder to try to get those priests or Theodore McCarrick in jail. No one has worked harder in any of this stuff for all of their time. They've been trying to do it for 20 years than I do. I am relentless. I need to have something of some closure. And I keep on pushing. And also, so I keep on pushing on Theodore McCarrick because he pushed on me for such a long time. But there is another part of life right now. I am happy, joyous, and free. I go to church every week. I go to confession as often as I can. And I have met some of the most holy people in the world. To me, thinking about me having had the opportunity to speak to a Cardinal Burke, to speak to Carlo Maria Vigano, and all the holier men and all the holier women across this world, and they say they want to talk to me. In 2018, I didn't know anybody. I was inside a little shell, and I didn't expect anybody to ever talk to me. So now they want to talk to me. It's amazing. It blows my mind. And my brothers and sisters say, well, maybe you should call up this person, or maybe you should call up that person. They're not going to talk to me. They don't know who I am. Everybody knows who I am. That's amazing to me. So I am a sinner. I am not perfect, and I repent, and I do a lot of things. The greatest thing I get every day is I get to get up. I get down on my knees and I pray to God. And then I put on some sneakers and I go teach little kids how to hit a tennis ball because that was my first love. And I do it every single day. I don't care how much I hurt because God is giving me everything that I ever wanted. And he never stops giving. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And I'm so happy to be able to be part of your show. And I'm very, very happy to be part of many other people's lives. And I don't hurt anybody, especially myself, all day. And I just love God. I just love him. Thank you.
James, I'm so honored to have you on and to share your thoughts about all of this, and more importantly, to share your love of God as well. And I really do hope that you come back. And I know everyone, um, you know, is there a place they can follow you, James?
Well, I have a blog, but once in a while I write things out there. It's called the greinreport.com.
And it's behind you, right?
It's behind me there, yes. And so it's a lot of fun. Once in a while, I haven't written out there for a while. Basically, I've been writing about being on the right side of history. And being on the right side of history, you have to believe in Christ first. And you have to help another human being. Because if all you're doing is weaponizing yourself and going after another human, you're not doing God's work. And why shouldn't I be nice to the next person who's next to me? And why shouldn't I say hello to everybody I see? Because I might be the only person who says hello to that person that day. So I enjoy that.
That is so true, James. You know, one of the things that I always talk about is when you go through a fast food restaurant, look the person in the eye, tell them thank you, or how's your day going today? Treat them like a human being.
Exactly.
Right? Because so many times we just pass people by and we just take everything for granted and we don't take the time to have a human connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Well, James, would you stay on for a few minutes while I close up?
Yes, I'd be more than happy to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for watching today. Now, tomorrow, Saturday, I'll be doing a live stream at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on X and YouTube. Now, I'm going to be happy to take your questions, and I'll be announcing some changes tomorrow and setting some ground rules. Also, I have a letter to share with you I received from a priest. So stay tuned. And again, thank you for your emails, your comments, for liking and sharing this video. And remember, folks, eternal life is forever. Got a plan? I hope your plan is Jesus. Bye-bye.